Hey everyone, I want to thank everybody for viewing these tutorials. Seems like I'm getting a lot of attention lately. I've been seeing 15, 20 subscriptions every day. It's pretty cool. I appreciate the comments. Some of those are pretty funny. I'll try not to distract anybody with my voice from here on out. Today though, from some of those comments, it's become pretty clear that people are wanting to move forward from where we left off. And that's what we're going to start now. This first video, I'm going to kind of recap what we've done and talk about where we're going to go from here and why. So where we left off was we had taken a design from another website, and I took a screenshot of it, we loaded it into Photoshop, and from that point on we kind of remade that whole design from the ground up. And once we did that, we cut up the graphics that we needed and went into Dreamweaver, and we wrote the HTML and CSS in order to make this layout. And here's the final result from where we left off on video 18. So at this point we have a web page. Technically, I guess you could consider this a website, but it really doesn't do anything other than show this page. None of the links work, they don't go anywhere. So what we need to decide now is how we're going to go on from this point on. So what we need to talk about is our navigation, and we'll start with this main navigation here at the top. We have our anchor tags or link tags already put in here. However, they're not going anywhere. The href property is not set to a URL or a page yet. The quick and dirty way to do this would be to just put in our page names here. So we'd make a services page and a hosting page and so on. And by doing this, we're going about it in a static way, or doing static design development. And in order to do things this way, that means we do have to have an actual service page, a hosting page, a contact page, the information pages about the different hosting plans, and so on. And at this point, using only HTML and CSS, really the only way we can go about this is duplicate these pages and change the content in order to suit the specific pages. So let's talk about this. We have two types of websites for the most part. There's static and dynamic. Now, static websites are kind of what we just talked about, where things are kind of hard-coded or manually put into each page, which means we actually have to have a page for each, say, topic on the website, be it hosting, services, etc. We basically need to copy this index page and paste it, or save it as another page called services, for instance, and then strip out the pieces and parts that we don't want, and then put in the services information or the hosting information. And so you could see we could end up with several pages. Now there's pros and cons to static websites. Same with dynamic websites. One of the pros to the static websites is if you are making a really simple website with a simple layout, it could be one of the quickest ways to do it. You can just kind of do exactly what we just did, copy the pages, swap out some content, and you're good to go. Another pro is that you don't necessarily need to learn any new languages, any server-side technology or anything like that. You can get away with doing these with the knowledge you have at the moment. Now, the major con here is that when you have all these pages and you're copying and pasting the layout, the navigation, and all that into each one, what happens when you need to make a change to something that's consistent, like the layout or the navigation? Say you wanted to take services out of the menu at the top, the main nav. Well, you'd have to go through each page, hosting.html, services.html, and so on, and remove that link. Now that doesn't seem like too big of a deal, but what if you have to make several changes in a day? Or what if you have a client who is very meticulous and can't make up their mind, and they're having you change things 4 or 5 times a day? This could get pretty daunting, and it leaves a lot of room for errors. You don't have to fix just one typo, you might have to find 5 of them. Or you may forget to take something out of one of the pages. So while I'm not saying you shouldn't do static websites, they're perfectly fine. And if you're still a beginner to all this, maybe this is the way to go for a while. But the more efficient and professional way to do a website is by using dynamic technology here, where instead of having 10, 15 different pages, we have one or maybe a couple more pages that hold the layout, or what we might call the template of the site, and we dynamically load or inject is another term used. We load or inject this content from either a database or elsewhere externally. And what this allows you to do is kind of have this template, the static template, that if you need to make a change, say to the navigation, you want to take out the services link, like we mentioned previously, you have to do it once rather than 15, 16 times, depending how many pages you have. So this can be benefit enough to go this route. There's different levels of complexity with Dynamics websites. They could be pretty simple, where you're just including some simple data that's on the server in other pages, which I'll explain later, or you could be setting up a very detailed database to handle what data comes in and out of the website in various areas. So here's a real simple model of a static website. You have the server here and your kind of root folder. Say you have a hosting account, this is your public_HTML or htdocs or whatever. This is where your site starts. And in here you have your pages. I've simplified this. I didn't want to put all the pages we might have to have in here, but you can see we have index, services, contact, about us, and so on. These are just examples, and each one of these would have to have the full layout included in them. But with a dynamic website, you have your server and your database is saved on the server and your root folder, and you say have your index page, which you'll notice is I've got it as index.php. So this is now going to become a PHP page. And what PHP allows us to do is to communicate with the database. So we've got our one page, it's got our layout, our navigation, and all that, and we can tell it to load content from the database depending on what we need to load. So we don't need to have a home page, about us page, a services page, etc. We just have one, and it's got the template in it, and we call on the database to load specific items. And those items can be pulled in numerous different ways, and we'll talk about that here in future lessons. But I just wanted to go over this really quick because I wanted to kind of explain what direction we're going to go in this series from here on out. I had to make the decision to go one or the other ways, and showing you how to make a static website I've pretty much already done. All you really have to do is copy and paste all the code into a new page each time you want to make a new page, or save as and change the name of the document, and you're good to go. And then you just need to link those documents by putting the file name in there, in the href property of each link. Unless people give me an overwhelming demand for going over static development in more detail, then we're going to move on and we're going to start working on dynamic websites from here on out. And don't get scared if you're still a beginner, because we're going to start with the more basic and easier to understand implementations of dynamic development first. So before you bail out, listen to the next few videos and kind of see how far you can get with it. Thanks.